of hands, how many of you out there are parents? How many out there have parents? All right. Where are those of you that are people managers in your world? And how many are a mentor to someone in your world? How many of you volunteer in some way? Does anyone get exhausted like I do just thinking about all of the different things that we do in our worlds? I'm a mom, and I'm a daughter too. I'm also a professional speaker and coach. I'm an elementary school volunteer. I'm a business owner. I'm a wife. I've got to tell you, many days I feel like a travel agent, a taxi driver, a social coordinator. I'm guessing each of your worlds may look differently to mine, but I'm also guessing that each and every one of us have in common the many, the numerous, and the varied roles that we play in our world, and the competing priorities that arise because of that, the stress of wondering how we're going to get it all done and done well. And that, my friends, is just on a good day, right? When life is going well. Then, of course, life sometimes throws us those curveballs. This is my family, my husband, my son, and this, in the background there, is my 9-year-old daughter, Sienna. This picture is probably a little bit dated now, over a year old, and it was taken when Sienna was happy and healthy in life. We were all down on a family holiday in Australia, visiting family and friends. If you fast forward with me 6 months from this photo to last October, my husband and I, Paul and I, we noticed our daughter slowing pretty appreciably. On the soccer field, on our Colorado hiking trails, honestly watching her tire, even after a pretty low-key Girl Scout meeting. Our daughter is a heart kid. She is surviving and frankly thriving in life thanks to the miracles of modern medicine. So I know a lot of you out there are representing children's hospitals or various medical facilities. I have a world of regard for your work, for everyone's, just to be clear, but particularly for your work. That particular month, last October, a visit to her cardiologist showed that Sienna's pulmonary artery systems, they'd narrowed quite dangerously, and she was in need of an intervention on a pretty urgent basis. October 22, 2018. It was one day post my husband and I celebrating 16 years of marriage. It was 8 weeks into my son's first year of middle school. It was a day I should have been on site with a client speaking, and probably more importantly, it was a day my daughter should have been in her 4th grade classroom with her peers. Instead, that day, we took our daughter to Children's Hospital Denver for that medical intervention for her heart. You might imagine, it had been a tough couple of weeks, so small comfort, at least we knew at the end of that day that we'd be on the other side. We'd be back on the road to recovery. This is a picture of my brave, resilient little 9-year-old right before they wheeled her into the OR that day. And you know what? Turns out life had other plans for us that day. About 2 hours in, the surgeon came out, spoke with us, and said, "I'm so sorry, I've had to abort." We got in. The damage was far more severe, far more complex than we'd anticipated. And I'm afraid your daughter needs a major open heart surgery, and she needs it pretty urgently. And in fact, I'll never forget the surgeon using the words, "Your daughter's heart is a ticking time bomb right now." Shocked, scared, overwhelmed. I got the scared part in there, right? And having to explain to this 9-year-old that her promised heart fix that day, it hadn't worked. And it hit home that night that it wasn't just my husband and I and my daughter, as we watched my 12-year-old son, her big brother, of his own accord, crawl into bed with her that night to cuddle her to sleep. It is really easy to slip into the mode of focusing on the problems we have in life. Problems that honestly, pending the severity, the complexity, may feel like they have the power to crush, or if not crush, to at least weigh pretty heavily on our shoulders. We're going to have to take time off work. It's going to be a hit financially. My daughter could miss months of school. It's already tough for her. She's going to fall behind, right? What about my son? Will he feel neglected? What about keeping him on track? And you know what? The big problem, the one that no one wants to think about in these circumstances, this is a life-threatening surgery. We are staring down the barrel of, what if she doesn't make it? Problems are life circumstances over which we feel almost no degree of control. Problems are a lens through which we view those life circumstances that leave us feeling powerless. Back 9+ years ago, we're pregnant with my daughter. My husband and I are first finding out about these medical complications. We're coming to grips with the new reality in our world. It was pretty natural to focus on, let's be honest, to fixate on the problem, in this case called our daughter's life is hanging in the balance and there's not a darn thing we can do about it. Here's the thing, that problem mindset, it's a choice. I'll bite, I'll give you a pretty natural and pretty instinctive one in a lot of cases. The alternative, and I'm going to argue the healthier, more productive alternative, is to instead focus on a project mindset. To transform your problems in your world into projects. I'm defining the word project here as a finish line in your world that you have a degree of control, or if not control per se, at least influence over. Problems, not problems, now we're on to projects. Projects are concrete finish lines that we've defined in a way that we know when we've successfully crossed them. That big idea, to focus on having projects in life, not problems, I've got to tell you, it was life-changing for me. And it still, to this day, remains one of my personal mantras. Back to that pregnancy, that time of uncertainty, my husband and I were able to push through the problem mindset and the stress and the overwhelm that was starting to kick in with it. And we made a conscious decision to focus our energy instead on having projects, on defining finish lines that we felt pretty good we could control. The best cardiology team in place for our kiddo. Home care medical systems at home, ready to go. Insurance, up to speed. Caseworker fully briefed. Now, you're all smart enough to know in this room, of course, you cannot take emotion out of some things completely. But having traveled that road, it was pretty awesome. The emotional overwhelm that was lessened as my husband and I really made that concerted effort to focus on projects in our world. Life's going to have adventures and life's going to have lemons. Here's the thing, we always have a choice. Will you focus on the problems over which you don't really feel that degree of control, ownership, or influence? Or will you transform your mindset to focus on what projects that you can tackle in your world? Because if you can make that shift in mindset, you are on your way to more successfully being in control of your world. And if you can make that shift, here are 4 ideas. Stress busters, right? Probably more appropriately called behavioral best practices that will lead you down that road to success. The first, we are all constrained, unless someone can tell me differently, we are all constrained by the same 24 hours in a day. So recognize you can't do it all. We have got an awful lot coming at us in life. We have to consciously make decisions about what, deservedly so, is going to get our time, our energy, and our attention. And by the way, it's equally important to decide what's not, right? What can wait for now. Then we want to define our targeted outcomes. We want to be really clear. What exactly is the finish line that we want to cross here? And when you define that finish line, great best practice to ask yourself, hey, do I have some control or at least influence over accomplishing this finish line? Right? And hey, by the way, if the answer to that question is no, you might want to rethink, how am I defining the finish line, right? What is a finish line that I have the ability to cross, to influence, to control, to get across successfully? So important then that we make really clear decisions. What's our next action? A lot of us know we've got stuff going on in life. There are things we want to accomplish, to achieve, but we haven't actually decided what exactly is it that we need to do next. Gold star standard, specificity, and I'm always proud of myself when that word comes out correctly the first time. Specificity is king here. When time shows up, we want to know exactly what it is that we're going to do to get traction towards those projects in our world. And lastly, and possibly this is the most important one, be willing to ask for and accept help. Yes, even on those things that you believe or maybe you know that you can do better. And I'm guessing that these ideas are not new ideas to many of you sitting here because they are taken straight out of the GTD core model playbook, right? These are a part of the clarify step within the GTD methodology. So back to last October, our surgeons set the date for the big open heart surgery, December 5, and my husband and I yet again found ourselves pushing through that problem mindset and the stress and the overwhelm that was threatening to engulf us. And we once again focused our energy on defining projects that we could successfully get across the finish line with that would push us in the right direction. A plan with my daughter's school, so that despite time missed, we can keep her on grade level. Communication to our clients. My husband and I are both business owners, letting them know availability and alternate options. A plan for my son to keep his world on track. And yes, Christmas cards and the annual letter in the post box by December 5, because that was important to me. But I've got to tell you, equally important in our decision making was what we decided to let go of last December. Team building, opportunities locally to help build our own business. Virtual speaking engagements, the time we do love volunteering at the elementary school. And equally as important to that was the help that we asked and willingly accepted. So a friend, a dear friend, came to us and said, hey, let me take over for Benji while you guys are in hospital. And she set up an amazing roster of amazing people willing to take our son every night, to shower him with love, to give him a hot meal, to make certain he was feeling a part of everything that was going on. Another friend said, Alana, let me set up a meal train for you. And I said, yes, absolutely, thank you. I delegated those things. I sometimes think delegation brings a lot of baggage when we use that word, and there are all sorts of top-down impressions that come along with that word. You know, I look at it differently. Delegation is simply an appropriate ask for help. Could I have done those things that our friends were now stepping up to do? Of course I could have, right? But by asking and accepting that help, by delegating, I was able, my husband and I were able to focus on the things that only we could do. Projects, not problems. You know, I've been on the GTD speaker circuit for, I don't know, I'm sure there are people in the room that could answer that, right? But it feels like a while now, and I'm frequently asked, Alana, what is GTD to you? It's a life management system. It's a mindset. It's a series of behavioral best practices. And yes, it enables me to move effectively and efficiently through my everyday. But more so than that, to me, GTD lets me create order out of chaos in life's toughest moments. And from that, GTD allows me to be fully present. Not just physically, by the way. Has anyone ever been physically present somewhere, but mentally, you were anywhere but? Any of you just there? I bet you're back now, right? GTD enables me to be fully present with whatever it is that I have right in front of me. We are 7 months post that open heart surgery date now. The first picture is Sienna celebrating the 6-week milestone. I'm going to get to go home and tell her you all clapped for her. She'll be very excited, right? The middle photo is 10 weeks post-heart surgery on the Colorado ski slopes with her cardiologist's blessing, to be clear, right? The third picture is 3 months post-surgery when the last of her physical restrictions were lifted. And you bet these were all milestones that we celebrated the heck out of. But here's the thing. Life isn't just about the big wins, the big milestones. Putting these ideas into play, transforming our mindset through this period, let my husband and I, through that challenging month of December, be present, that idea of fully present, for some of the most beautiful moments that life has to offer. 3 days post that open heart surgery, watching her big brother and her best friend wheel Sienna down the hospital halls to go see Santa. 1 week post-surgery, opening the door on a cold, snowy Colorado night and watching our neighbors gathered to carol Christmas songs just for our daughter. Each night, being able to take a few minutes to talk with the friends, the family who were at our doorstep bringing hot meals for our family, so we could focus our time and energy on our kiddos. Think for a moment about your world. What problems do you have in your world? How many of life's beautiful moments are you missing because you're not present, right? Physically, maybe you're there, but mentally, right? Anywhere but. Life can be beautiful and it can be an adventure. And life, in my experience, can also be tough, messy, and pretty darn unfair sometimes. I love the words of Forrest Gump. Life is like a box of chocolates. Absolutely, right? You never know what you're going to get. I have lost count at this stage of the number of people who've said to my husband and I don't know how you two do it. I don't know that I would have been so strong. I don't think I would have made it through. I've got to tell you, my husband and I are not extraordinary people. We have been presented in life with what sometimes feels like a pretty extraordinary set of circumstances. We not only survive, we thrive in life because we realize we always have a choice. Each and every one of us here in this room, we always have a choice. It is up to us to decide how are we going to face up to the hands that life deals to us. Problems or projects? What's your mindset choice? Because one is going to lead us down a path of chaos, stress, and frankly, a whole lot of overwhelm. The other is going to, no matter the circumstances, help to put us back in the driver's seat. It's going to help us to feel to the greatest degree possible that level of control over our world. And it's going to let us be present, fully present, for all of those beautiful moments that life has to offer. Problems or projects? I want to finish by inviting all of you to really consider how you can transform your mindset. It has been my absolute pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting me share our story.